blind courage. The house was quiet, too quiet for a Saturday evening. 8-year-old Daniel sat in his room, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the ticking of the old wooden clock in the hallway, and the restless whistling of the wind brushing against the windows. Daniel was blind. He had been born without sight, and the darkness was all he had ever known. But that didn't make his world empty. For him, sound painted pictures clearer than any color. Touch described shapes more faithfully than sight ever could, and smell carried memories sharper than photographs. Usually, when the silence in the house grew heavy, Daniel would call for his father. His dad was his anchor, his guide, and the man who taught him that being blind didn't mean being helpless. "Dad!" Daniel called softly. There was no answer. He tilted his head, listening. Normally, he could hear his father tinkering in the garage, laughing at something on the television, or humming absent-mindedly as he worked in the backyard. Tonight, there was nothing, just silence. A strange unease crawled into Daniel's chest. He slid off his bed, his bare feet meeting the cool wooden floor. Slowly, carefully, he reached for the wall, his fingertips gliding along the textured paint as he stepped out of his room. "Dad?" he called again, louder this time. Still no answer. The hallway stretched before him like an endless tunnel. Daniel knew every inch of it. The spot where the floor creaked, the corner where the wallpaper peeled slightly, the faint draft that came from the crack under the front door. But tonight, each step felt heavier. He reached the living room, sweeping his cane across the floor until it tapped against the coffee table. He circled around it, careful not to bump his knees. His ears strained, searching for the sound of his father's voice, but all he could hear was the distant chirp of crickets outside. "Maybe he's in the backyard," Daniel whispered to himself, though his stomach tightened with fear. Getting to the backyard wasn't easy for him. The sliding door was tricky, the step down uneven, and the yard itself was a maze of garden tools, flower pots, and uneven ground. But if his father wasn't inside, he had to be there. On his way to the kitchen, Daniel's cane knocked over something metallic. The crash startled him, sending a jolt of panic through his chest. He crouched down, feeling with his hands until he found the object, one of his father's toolboxes. The lid had popped open, spilling nails and screws across the floor. Daniel's fingers brushed against the sharp edges, and he hissed in pain as one pricked his skin. He couldn't just leave it there. He carefully pushed the nails into a small pile, sweeping them with his palm until they were mostly gathered. His father had always taught him, "You face what's in your way, step by step." So Daniel faced it. He left the pile neat against the wall, then rose to his feet again. In the kitchen, Daniel paused. The air smelled faintly of smoke. Not fire, but something like burnt toast. His ears caught a low, strange sound. A faint moan, distant, almost muffled, came from outside. His heart skipped a beat. "Dad!" Daniel called, his voice trembling. No reply, just that faint groan, then silence again. Daniel turned toward the sliding glass door. His cane found the rug, then the metal frame. His fingers traced the cold glass, searching for the latch. He struggled, his small hands fumbling with the lock, but finally, with a sharp click, it slid open. The night air rushed in, cool and damp, carrying the smell of grass and earth. Somewhere close, a cricket sang, and then a groan again, louder this time. The backyard. Daniel stepped outside, one cautious foot after another. The porch step was uneven, and he almost stumbled, but his hand caught the wooden railing just in time. "Dad!" he called desperately. Silence. Then a whisper of breath. A low exhale, heavy and labored. Daniel's chest tightened. He followed the sound, sweeping his cane across the ground. It tapped against a flower pot, then a rake. He maneuvered around them, his bare feet brushing against damp soil. The sound grew louder, a weak groan, followed by a strained cough, and then Daniel's cane hit something solid. Not wood, not metal, something soft. Daniel dropped to his knees, his trembling hands reaching forward. He touched fabric, denim, a familiar shirt, his father's shirt. "Dad!" he cried, shaking him gently. "Dad, please wake up." His father didn't answer. His chest rose faintly, shallow breaths rattling through him. His body was limp. Daniel's mind raced. He couldn't see what was wrong, but he could feel it. His father was unconscious, maybe dying. For a moment, fear almost paralyzed him. His throat tightened, and tears filled his blind eyes. He was just a little boy. He couldn't fix this. But then he remembered his father's voice. "You're stronger than you think, Danny. You just have to believe it." Daniel clenched his fists. He had to get help. But the phone was inside, and between him and the phone was the minefield of the house. The spilled nails, the coffee table, the sliding door. If he made a mistake, if he fell, if he wasted too much time, his father might not survive. Daniel rose to his feet, his cane steady in his hand. He took a deep breath and turned back toward the house. Each step was a battle. He bumped into the rake, tripped over a hose, and nearly fell face first into the flower bed. But he kept going. Inside, he stumbled over the toolbox again, his foot catching on the spilled nails. One pierced his skin, and he cried out, falling to his knees. For a moment, he wanted to give up, but he gritted his teeth, pulled the nail from his foot, and crawled forward until he found the wall. Step by step, breath by breath, he reached the kitchen counter. His fingers searched desperately until they found the smooth, familiar shape of the phone. His hands shook so badly he nearly dropped it. He remembered the numbers his father had drilled into him. 911. His trembling fingers pressed the buttons. 911, what is your emergency? A calm female voice answered. Am my dad? Daniel sobbed. He's in the backyard. He's not waking up. Please help him. The operator's voice was steady. Stay on the line, sweetheart. We're sending help right now. Can you stay by him until they arrive? Daniel clutched the phone, nodding furiously though she couldn't see him. Yes, please hurry. Daniel dropped the phone and rushed back outside, his bare feet stinging with every step. He found his father again, collapsed on the ground, his breathing shallow but steady. Daniel lay down beside him, clutching his father's hand tightly. It's okay, Dad. Called them. They're coming. Just stay with me, okay? Please. For the first time that night, Daniel wasn't afraid. He had faced the darkness. He had faced the house full of obstacles, and he had won. In the distance, he heard the wail of sirens growing louder, and Daniel, blind but unbroken, held on to his father with all the strength he had. Thank you for watching this story to the very end. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It truly helps us create more stories that touch the heart. See you in the next one.